What is a clever way to save money that most people don't realize? Before we start, don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next videos. I wish you a pleasant viewing experience. Story 1. Politely make a counteroffer when you get a job offer. It's actually expected, and there's pretty much zero risk in doing so as long as you don't turn it into an ultimatum. You're probably throwing more money away by not doing this than you can save by pinching pennies and not buying drinks at restaurants. Answer: do you have graceful wording for this? Should it be, I was thinking more like offers? I always feel it needs justification because other company is paying Y or average for someone in my field is Z. But that info is all coming from Glassdoor, but then I'm told that those numbers are way off base. The websites aren't reliable. I'm not in STEM, so salaries aren't as transparent, and none of my friends work in the same field. Story 2. Every time you fancy buying something special, impulse buying, by principle, postpone it for a week. If you forget, you really didn't need it. Answer: I do this, slightly modified. I buy the item by transferring the money it would have cost into my savings account and treat the money as if it is gone. If at the end of the month I really want the item, I buy it for real. So if I really want something, I buy it at twice the price. More often than not, I don't even bother because I've forgotten about it or really didn't want it in the first place. Also, I set a spending floor. I do not spend below that amount, no matter what, and this is incorporated into my spending. So if I run out of money because I went nuts, that's my own fault, and I have to live off what I have until the next paycheck. Definitely not something everyone can or wants to do, but it works for me. Story 3. Making your own food. It's creative and can save tons of money, especially when it comes to eating out. Story 4. Learn to fix things rather than instinctively replacing them or paying someone to fix them. YouTube is quite educational. Answer: take this with a grain of salt. As a remodeler, I've seen plenty of customer fudge-ups that end up costing them twice. Once for their time and materials, and once for my time and materials to fix it. If something seems way too easy, you're probably missing a step. Likewise, if you dive into good information and it confuses you or you don't have the tools, save yourself the headaches and party too hard money on mistakes and hire a pro. Some things are DIY friendly, some things. Story 5. Learn to love water. Get a good reusable bottle or a bunch and just bring one everywhere. It's the best thing for your health, and that 2-3 tax buying a drink whenever you're out is avoided. Answer: I have a carbonated drink problem, to be honest. It's not like I dislike water, but I'm kind of addicted to the sensation of refreshment sodas provide. Recently, I was consuming 2 cans of energy drink daily for like a month, spending quite a of my salary. Since 2018, I've been drinking another cheaper brand almost daily. In 100, sure, I've drank more sodas than water in this period of time. I decided to stop this and slowly find a replacement, not mainly because of health, but for saving money. I'm 21, and if I don't quit this habit, I'm sure I will regret in near future. Drink water is a habit that's cheap and helpful. Story 6. Don't go shopping as a form of entertainment. Put long-term savings in an investment account and not the bank. Invest in a credit card with cash back rewards that you put into savings only if you can pay the balance off each month. I use one for groceries, gas exclusively, and make about $400 annually just for using the card. Learn what's really worth it. An overpriced day at the spa with mess services or a really good 90-minute massage close to home for less. Story 7. In some areas, electricity is cheaper after a certain time, so you can run dishwashers, washing machines, and dryers at that time to save on electricity. Call your provider and ask. Story 8. 10% of all you earn is yours to keep. The richest man in Babylon. After I read this, I started transferring 10 to another bank account. Doesn't seem like much when you start, but it starts adding up over time. Story 9. Don't buy the cheapest option. Buy a couple of steps above it. The cheapest washing machine will last you 3 years, and then you have to buy a new one. Just wait for a special offer, Black Friday, or some sort of clearance sellout, and get the last year's model for a discount price, and it will last you 10-15 years. Same thing with most machines, cars, computers, and clothes. Don't buy a cheap pair of sneakers. Save up and buy a slightly more expensive leather boot, something that you can actually maintain, repair, and reuse. Any furniture made out of cheap material is going to collapse eventually. Buy real wood and it will last for a lifetime. Same thing with pots and pans, bed linen, clothes, and so on. Answer: I agree that we need to maintain and use to its full extent whatever we buy. There's too much fast fashion, short lifespan stuff and devices, but I've also learned to buy cheap when I know it's appropriate. Like, for example, one summer I was working outside pouring concrete. I just needed a pair of work boots as my sneakers were not safe. My father-in-law told me to buy a 200 pair of boots, but since I work in IT as my regular job and can't use work boots at all for almost anything, I bought the cheapest Walmart brand on sale for $15 and just used them this summer. I was going to throw them out, but they held up for those few weeks so well, I'm keeping them in case I ever need them. If I'd bought some expensive ones, I'd have paid way too much for a pair that I'm only going to use a few days in total and probably donate to the thrift store in a few years. It also gives me time to consider that if I end up using work boots a lot and wear them out, at least I know to buy better ones. I think of it as a trial pair. I've gone thrift store shopping and find way too many barely broken in brand name shoes people think they'll use often, but never do. I think most people just need to really consider their needs, not wants. Also, I bought my father-in-law the 200 work boots instead since he was doing most of the work. LOL. I know he'll use them more than I ever will. Story 10. Take your own lunch coffee to work. I did the math before the pandemic. I would spend almost $15 a day on breakfast, lunch, and morning coffee at work in the cafeteria. I work at an on-site daycare. I was laid off for a few months, and when I came back, the offices were still closed and the cafeteria has been closed since. So I bring my own food. So that was $15 a day, 5 days a week, so $75 a week, $300 a month, $3,600 a year. On food at work, I have been saving so much that when the cafeteria opens again in a few months, I'll still bring my own food. It adds up. Story 11. Keep almost all your money in an account that's not connected to your card, but you can easily transfer from. Keep only enough to cover small expenses, like a coffee or small grocery store trip in the account that's connected to your card. Every time you buy something that costs more than $20 or so, you'll need to take an extra step in transferring the money for it, and also have to look at your account balance to better gauge whether it's really worth it. This stops nearly all impulse buying for me, other than small items. Answer: to further this, get paid into a savings account and earn interest on what you don't spend from day one. Edit for clarification, because a lot of people seem to think that I'm suggesting you squirrel away tons of money in a standard savings account forever and ever. Shop around and find a savings account that gives you a bonus rate for regular deposits. Get your wages paid into it. Even if the rates are low, as they are at the moment, you are earning something for it to be there. This account should be reasonably easy to access, i.e., directly connected to a debit card or no-fee transfer to a debit account. From the savings account, regularly review what you need the money for and what might be a better use for it. Depending on your circumstances, this might be weekly, monthly, quarterly, etc. Invest the surplus in higher earning forms. Depending on your risk adversity, it might be term deposits, shares, property, etc. These forms of investments are typically harder to access if you need the money on short notice. Even if you maintain a balance of 1,000 at 1p by say, that earns you 10 a year, which is more than you would be getting from your piggy bank, as has been suggested elsewhere on this thread. Anything excess to what you would reasonably need to access in a week should be invested into a higher earning investment. I am in Australia. 1 interest is available to most adults. There are bank accounts with further bonuses for young adults and/or students, for children, or for retirees. Shop around. Look up comparison websites, find something that suits your circumstances. Disclaimer: I am not a financial advisor and I don't know your personal circumstances. This may not work for you, but it is a way to get your money to start working for you from the moment it arrives in your bank account. Story 12. I have 2 rules that I've always tried to follow, although not always as well as I'd like. 1. Happiness doesn't come from acquiring things I want, it comes from avoiding things I don't want. 2. I can only spend it once. By following these rules, I'm not rich, but I've at least avoided poverty. Answer: 1. Happiness doesn't come from acquiring things I want. It comes from avoiding things I don't want. So much this. People always say money can't buy happiness. Well, yeah, it can. That's what money is for. Buying things. What it can't do is tell you what will make you happy. No matter how much money I have, having a mega yacht will never make me happy. I fudge dislike sailing, so I won't buy a yacht. Story 13. Don't spend it on rubbish you don't need. Just because an item is on sale doesn't mean you should get it. Story 14. Quit smoking and drinking adult beverage. Drink water instead of soda or Starbucks. Buy non-perishables in bulk. Eat out less and eat more at home. Borrow money from your parents and don't pay them back. Story 15. I have developed several ways to save significant amounts of money without much effort. Thrift stores. Especially where I live, there are lots of them, and they have deals quite frequently. If you time it right, you can get just about any durable good for less. Now, it won't be new or shiny even, but if you want some plates, who the fudge cares? After 3 months, those 10 USD new plates will be just as scuffed as the 99-cent thrift store ones. Same with glassware, coffee mugs. Clothes are hit or miss because so many people are reselling thrift store shoot. Go early in the AM if you can. Swap meets are same as above, but you can typically find newer items here. Beware of resellers peddling Alibaba AliExpress specials. Expect to pay more for your goods. People know what they have. Ethnic markets. They sell many things at higher prices, but if one goes to the Asian or Latin market for spices, you will get 2-3x as much for the same price, and the quality is as good. Computers and electronic goods are easily found through Nextdoor or friend networks. Always keep a few nerds under your belt in your friend group and ask often when their company is disposing of electronics. You may just find that you don't have to pay for, say, a laptop with no HDD, a 100-foot Cat5e Cat6 Ethernet cable, or even some AV cables and dongles, some of which can be expensive. University surplus, government surplus. These are open to the public, and they sell everything from furniture to computers and bicycles, even vehicles, at rock-bottom prices. Restaurant supply stores. Same as above, but some are not open to the public, so find a way to get in, or order from one like Standard Restaurant Supply, which is open to anybody. You can get everything from dishware to appliances at about 13 to 12 the cost of a premium cooking store. Lots of good knives as well. Answer: for men, secondhand stores are amazing. Most males would never step foot into a secondhand store, and the men's section is usually much smaller than the women's section. But there are some really crazy deals, even more so than the bargains for women's clothes. For 100, 200, and a couple visits to local secondhand shops, you can have a top-notch set of professional clothes for work. Story 16. Make your own coffee at home. Don't go to places like Starbucks or even the independent coffee shops. You might have to spend a little in the beginning to get a decent coffee maker set up, but in the long run, you will be saving yourself time and money. Story 17. Take a lesson gleaned from Milton Friedman. He is the economist who during WW2 saw that the Treasury was struggling with money coming in, specifically with people being able to pay their tax bill at the end of the year. So he had an idea and suggested it. Why not have taxes withheld from paychecks, and we can have the people reconcile at the end of the year and either pay the difference or get a refund? You see, cutting the check every quarter or at year's end was too much for a lot of people. So the money coming into the Treasury was not good. But when a little was taken out every pay period, people adjusted accordingly. So do the same thing yourself if your employer allows it. Set up a savings account and have a little bit of money, say one of your net pay, withheld every pay period. You will adjust your spending habits, hopefully, and be saving a little money. Then every time you get a pay increase, commit some of that raise to the account as well. I would praise the benefits of compound interest at this point, but with rates being what they are. Story 18. Auto deposit money into a savings account, either a percentage or flat amount. Amazing how fast it adds up. Story 19. Check the product's price per ounce while buying groceries. I would not say it save a ton, but they save how few bucks here and there. Try to buy groceries only when the previously bought items are used. This helps you to avoid wastage and completely clean refrigerators. Story 20. Wait a week before you buy something you want. Obviously, this doesn't apply to groceries and the like, but otherwise, if you find something you want, write it down and wait a week. You'll probably find you want a lot of stuff that you give zero fudge about after a week. Answer: I think there is a lot of marketing that scares people into buying right then and there. There are places like TJ Maxx, TK Maxx that tell you on big signs, buy right now or it will be gone. And I've seen other places that say, once it's gone, it's gone. So it causes a panic and people think they need it right then and there. Etsy has this thing where it will say only one available and it's in 10 people's baskets. For all we know, the seller is the one adding it to multiple baskets to try and drum up interest. I've missed out on things before, but I would rather that than have purchase regret. Story 21. Cancel Amazon Prime. You can still get free shipping if the order's over $25. This hack makes me keep an item below $25 in a cart for weeks before I have enough to earn a free shipping. This makes you rethink what's in the cart. Story 22. Don't go for the sales and go against the stream. Buy winter clothes in the summer, buy summer clothes in the winter. 200B. I always make a wish list of what I want. This would probably be a spending spree kind of feeling. After that, I'll let that all stay in the wish list shopping basket and go back a week or two later. Still want it? Great. When do I need it? Not now. Put it in a wish list and wait until the sales are back. Story 23. Pretend you're a broke college student for a month, then gradually add things back into your life. You'll have a new appreciation for small things like getting the good bread or something. A reset like that can help you realize which lifestyle creep things you don't really want and make you more thankful for things you were taking for granted before. Tips on living like a broke college student. 1. You don't really need any subscription services. Check out movies, audiobooks, and more at public libraries or find interesting YouTubers or Twitch streams. 2. Carb chicken vegetables seasoning can be cooked so many different ways. Current favorites include Instant Pot teriyaki chicken rice bowl and slow cooker BBQ chicken with homemade fries and cooked vegetables. If you're spending more than 2 per person per meal. 3. Cold water is delicious. 4. Public parks, game nights, and movie nights are free and great activities for hanging out with friends and family. 5. Just getting into this myself, but gardening is a fun, rewarding hobby that gives you food and can be a way to recycle food scraps. Story 24. I'm used to just spending money on my debit card. If I see the money in my account, I want to spend it. I recently bought my first car and haven't been able to save any money. My BF and I are trying to buy a home, and I needed to start saving again. I've recently got an organizing envelope binder and labeled them with each bill I have, then other categories for things I normally spend money on. I organize like this. Bill 1, Bill 2, Bill 3, Bill 4, Bill 5, Bill 6. Fund savings house, Spet fund, Cargus fund groceries. This has helped me so much. I take all my money out of my account, split them all according to the bills and such, and then savings and finally fun. I try and leave myself $100 for a month for fun. I've literally been able to save so much money, and I even spend less. Story 25. Stay a generation or two behind and buy it secondhand. Don't buy a new PS5. Buy a PS4 Pro when the PS5 comes out, and there's a million PS4s for sale. Don't buy a new M5. Wait until you get one off a 3-year lease. Don't buy the new smartphone. Buy last year's when the new model comes out. Don't buy a T-bone steak, get a sirloin for your wife, and eat her jerk. Just common sense, really. Buy things when depreciation is right at the point of diminishing returns. Except for you PC gamer guys, you're fudge on GPUs. Story 26. Establish a livable income level. As your income increases, keep livable income the same, and rest goes into saving. Story 27. Don't get caught up in expensive, trendy items that are flawed. Apple products. I say this responding on my iPhone that's connected to my Apple Watch while watching Netflix on Apple TV while working on my MacBook Air LOL. Story 28. Taking out some cash when you get paid. Use it for a small purchase and then put the leftover change in a jar. Believe it or not, it can add up quickly and can be a secondary savings. Story 29. When you pay your bills, let's say cell or internet is, for numbers' sake, $183.54, round that up to 184 or 185 flat, nice whole number when you budget. After you pay the bill, you'll have that margin amount left over. It's not much, but a couple dollars or cents here and there will add up over time. Also, as someone else has said, set a spending floor for yourself. I call it a 0 point. Whatever you have in savings or checking, set an amount, 20, 50, 100, whatever reasonable amount you can manage, and make that your 0. If you have 350 in your checking account, but spend as if you really only have 250, you'll now have that 100 for emergency food, gas, part of a bill. That 100 doesn't exist until you really need it. As you save money, you can increase that 0 point to wherever is comfortable. Story 30. Give yourself an allowance and stick to it. I'm a grown adult with a mortgage, kids, and a good career, but my personal allowance is only $150 per paycheck. This allowance is to cover all the things I want, but don't need, like restaurant meals, fast food, social outings, recreational activities, non-work clothes, in-app purchases, etc. I can spend it on whatever the heck I want, and my husband can't say a thing about it. He has an allowance too, but it really makes me choose my priorities while still allowing some freedom for the occasional poor choice. Story 31. I've recently been trying to fast from spending on certain days of the week. I don't know if it is a unique concept or even wise, but the thought is that by limiting my spending from Friday to Sunday and not spending any money from Monday, Thursday, except for recurring monthly payments, I will, on average, spend less than I would otherwise. It forces me to meal prep, which is good for both health and finances, and not spend on unnecessary things for at least 47 days of the week. Story 32. Don't buy anything you can turn around and sell. You may make money, but likely you'll just get your money back, which means you gotta rent your item free for the duration of time. It amused you. Story 33. If you can, fill your tank when putting gas. You lose time and gas going to the gas station more than you should. Also, you won't buy overpriced snacks at a gas station that you could get for like half at the grocery store. Answer. Fuel pricing is very volatile here, Australia, but somewhat cyclical. I try and keep my fueling activities to the dips in price, but if I can't for whatever reason, I'll only put half a tank in when it's expensive. Then hold out for it to drop in price again. I guarantee you I come out ahead than if I was to completely fuel up every time I needed fuel. Probably to the tune of a couple of $100 a year, and I don't ever buy snacks there. Story 34. Just stop eating altogether. Food is so freaking expensive, especially if you eat out all the time. It's really difficult at first, but after a few days, you won't miss it anymore. Trust me. Story 35. Make your own iced coffee, even the flavored kinds. We brew strong coffee, add sugar and chocolate syrup while it's hot and let it cool. Pour it into a gallon jug, add creamer and refrigerate. When you want some, put ice into a reusable bottle with a straw and add the coffee. Story 36. I have about a $130K in savings and earn about $40K a year in California with a wife and kid. When I say learn how to save from me, I fudge mean learn it for me. Make saving a hobby. Play a game with yourself on what you can save money on. Buy a cheap car. Sell the expensive one. Pay off debt, loans, etc. Pack your fudge lunch for work. $200 a month. That's electricity bill. Make your coffee at home. It's on 20 week. That's fudge gas money. Shop at thrifty stores and look for new items. Exercise for fun and don't buy things because you want them, but because you need them. Story 37. Frozen salmon is $11 for 6 4-ounce servings where I live. Fresh salmon is $5 for 1 4-ounce serving. Story 38. A 100 shine haul might seem thrifty, but 9 times out of 10, you would get more use at reasonably priced quality clothing that won't ruin in 2 washes. Story 39. Raise your insurance deductible. The difference in premiums will let you save the money to pay the higher deductible in a short time. Story 40. Sounds like everyone would know this, but apparently not. But it's as simple as don't buy shoot you don't need. Story 41. Put it in a wallet you don't use. Put that wallet in a drawer you don't use much but has valuables and is easy access in case of emergencies. Put money in there every month, like clockwork. Eventually find you've got more money than you originally thought. Story 42. Maybe don't buy clothing that surpasses $100 for one item. I mean, that's only the type with money to spend, but it'll help. Story 43. This might be obvious, but know what stores have the cheapest items. Most chain grocery stores way overprice their produce. Learn this by working at a small produce store. You can often get much cheaper produce at those smaller mom-pop produce places, if you have one near you, or at an Asian food market, Mexican food market, etc. If it is summer, you might be able to get bulk produce at nearby farms or farmers markets. Many fruits, veggies can be kept frozen for long periods of time. All stores have certain items they underprice to draw customers in while overpricing others. Spend some time and walk around each store to figure out what they tend to mark down and keep cheap and when. Pay attention to the details on your food packaging. Look at the weight and check the price tag to see how much each ounce costs. Food corporations literally have a team whose job is to trick you into paying more for less. Stop, look at all of your options, and really inspect each item to see what they are offering and for how much. And look at the other options nearby. Don't buy in bulk if it will literally cost you the same price to buy the smaller portion. Convenience stores and substances stores usually overprice everything. Get your makeup at a grocery store. Adult beverage is often much more expensive at a liquor store while cheaper at grocery stores. But it all depends on the store itself, so pay attention to the little things. I've saved literally tens of thousands of dollars doing this. Story 44. Spend cash, but save all your 10s, your 5s and 1s and all your change. I did this when I worked as a server getting paid tips. Basically break a 20 anytime you want to buy something. If it's not worth breaking 20 for, don't get it. It adds up big time and quick too. Story 45. I'm sure people realize this, but packing your lunch for work. A home water filter so you can refill reusable water bottles. Story 46. Staying organized. We don't realize how many duplicates of things that we have if every cupboard, cabinet, and drawer is a mess. Story 47. Stop using cash and absolutely stop using debit. Those are poor people things. Get a credit card. Pay it off completely every month. Going out for drinks with friends? Instead of everyone splitting it on their debit cards, have your friends all Venmo you what they owe, then put the full bill on your credit card. Then pay the bill off by transferring the money in your Venmo to your checking account. It's literally free money, whether you get 1 to 3 cash back or airline points or rewards. Story 48. Max out your 401k to 20 of your pre-tax income. It will force you to save for retirement and live below your means. Story 49. I think about how could I earn more or how can I generate passive income? I know by making some restrictions, I can probably save $100-200 max, but I focus more on how to earn more rather than cutting those 100. Story 50. Use browser extensions like Honey, Sently, and Retail Me Not, especially if you have Google Chrome. They have probably saved me well over $1,000 in the 4 or 5 years I've had them. Story 51. It's not saving and investing for retirement, even if you can afford to do that. It's cutting out things that you really don't need to spend money on that would be better spent elsewhere. For example, people buy things like designer clothing and expensive purses just because they look good, when in fact, they're actually not necessary, and you can easily get the same thing without spending a dime or having to put in any extra effort to do so. You can't go around saving money and being totally frugal. If you were only frugal, then you would only have enough money to cover the bare necessities. That's not very frugal if you ask me. Instead, I suggest that you find things you can cut out and not spend money on, and do those instead. Some people just don't have the discipline to not spend money on things that they don't really need. But if you're willing to find ways to save money, like couponing, selling old stuff, looking for sales, using coupons, buying generic brands, etc., then you can save more money than most people by finding ways to spend less. Story 52. Set up a savings account and don't get a card for it, so you have to go to the actual bank to get into it. Then set up an auto deposit from your main account that happens on your payday. Then if as you get raises, you don't get a raise, your savings account does. Story 53. Below are things that help. 1. I give myself a cash allowance and leave the money cards at home. It helps prevent overspending if you have a budget. It also helps reset one's responsible mindset. 2. To prevent an impulse purchase, count to 20 and see if you still want it. Helps distract the mind and no longer want it. 3. Eat breakfast at home. Wake up earlier if you have to. You'll be less tempted to buy snacks during the day. 4. Research free alternatives to stuff. There are websites or blogs that talk about free stuff. I know of a few websites called joneswebgoods.com and geekology.com sometimes shares free stuff. Those are good blog examples. Story 54. Use cash for everyday things. Lunches, snacks, small market store run, drinks. Don't ever spend any of the 5 bills you get as change. At the end of the day, put all your 5 bills in an envelope and put that envelope in a book so you don't get tempted. They add up really quick. Story 55. Every time we get a 5 bill as change, we put it in an envelope. You'd be amazed how quickly you can have thousands saved using this method. We fund all our vacations this way. Story 56. Ride the city bus. Definitely not practical for everyone's living situation. I happen to live close enough to work. Don't worry about living in a huge house or the latest model of the iPhone or latest brand names. Story 57. Lots of banks have savings helper programs where they automatically deposit some of your income into a savings account. For example, mine is set up for 5 of my income to automatically be deposited into savings, and it takes a random number between 413 and moves it to savings every day. There are also apps that encourage you to save by entering you into lotteries that give cash prizes. You put a certain amount of money into a savings account, and you get entered into the lottery for that week month at Siri. Usually the money has to stay in the account for a certain amount of time to prevent people from gaming the system, but it's a useful tool if you're a compulsive gambler that is trying to save some money while still scratching that itch. Story 58. Honestly, just shopping around for insurance, cell phone, internet, and cutting off unused streaming services make a huge difference. Story 59. Random off the top of my head. If your grocery stores do weekly ads and online coupons, find out when they come out. For me, it's Sheb, and they usually switch on Wednesdays. I can see the deals before I go and build the next week's meal plan off that. Also, if you can go to more than one grocery store, do so. I buy most of my stuff from H-E-B, but Cokes and meat come from Kroger because they have better deals. If I have a big list, I stop by Aldi first. Spreadsheets can be super useful. I have one for groceries when I'm super broke. That is a lifesaver. It has a column for how much I expect to pay and an empty one for the real price. If I'm paying more, the cell turns red. I also have two sum cells that tell me exactly what I'm expecting to pay at the register. If something is off, I know immediately. Dollar Tree is great for retail therapy, especially during the holidays. Better to go on a shopping spree where everything is one. Calendars make great Christmas gifts when you're broke. They're cheap, they can be personal, and the new year is literally right around the corner. Shop the clearance at expensive stores, especially at the end of a season, but not Black Friday. I've found designer stuff for thrift store prices so many times. Macy's and Kohl's are my go-to places. Story 60. Might sound like a duh, but live soberly. Asian kitchens have a lot of really cheap but filling, healthy and tasty food, like egg fried rice or something you can make a big bowl of for close to no money. Drink water, don't smoke, no coffee, no adult beverage. Make your own food. Don't go to Domino's every week. IDK, I sometimes hear going to Domino's in America is super cheap, but here in Belgium it's really way more expensive than normal meal. Personally, I do this because I just like it. Don't like cigarettes, dislike the taste of adult beverage and coffee, and my tastes are really sober. I order Domino's once every 2 months and go to the cinema like twice a year. I'm happy. For people saying that it's really not easy to buy healthy, cheap food, you should look up cheap bodybuilder meal on YouTube. That guy showed a way to get like 3 big hot meals in per day at really affordable rates. Story 61. The accountant's tips. Meal prep. Tons of recipes online. Buy non-perishables in bulk. Store brand is often just as good as branded items. Have an account for larger bills. Car repair maintain that you deposit into monthly. Deposit some monthly into a savings account, but keep it separate from your card. Bread is cheap and freezes well. Make a shopping list before buying groceries and stick to it. Make your own meals at home, and leftovers make excellent lunches. Make and keep updating a budget for rent, transportation, utility, etc. That way you have a picture of how your finances are spent, and if you should look for cheaper options, stay away from fast food. No going to coffee shops either. Story 62. When you feel that urge to go to the movies, or the mall, or out to a restaurant for the 6th time this week, or to the club, don't. Check out Reddit, or YouTube, or Wikipedia, or something from Project Gutenberg. I'm bored is not a valid excuse to hemorrhage money like a fountain 14 times per day. Let the extravagant, unnecessary expenses be a treat, not a daily staple. There's more than enough entertainment value online. There's really no sensible reason to go drop 16 on a movie ticket, 3 on popcorn, 2 on a soda, plus fuel Uber bus expense, and to do it 3 nights per week. An acquaintance of mine was on a kick to pay down her crippling student loans. She never understood this. Her big idea was to meet a nice guy on one of her outings and seduce him to solicit his help in paying it down. She wasn't very successful, but she did manage to run up huge credit card debt on top of her school loans. That really helped her financial situation. Story 63. Don't buy stuff that you don't need. I know people who buy things on sale because they may need it in the future and it's cheaper now. Small amounts add up. My sister is the worst. Always complains about not having money by, spends a few dollars a day on dumb stuff. I've taught 10 a day for 30 days is a lot of money. Story 64. My partner and I were just talking about GoodRx. I know they advertise on TV, but we were saying how we need to get my parents, who are boomers, to start using it because my dad is on a laundry list of medications. Sadly. Answer. Careful with that. If you are on a deductible plan and your prescriptions count towards it, if you have something happen where you hit your deductible limits, you'll regret it. This happened to me a few years back. I'd been saving maybe $5 per month using a discount plan instead of my insurance for a monthly script. Ended up with a serious issue that put me past my high deductible. At least 500 worth of scripts I had bypassed my insurance was not counted. So I saved a few bucks, then lost 500 because they weren't counted to my deductible. Plans vary significantly. The more scripts you have, the more likely you'll end up hitting your deductible due to those same health issues. For me, it was penny wise and pound foolish. Story 65. Open a saving account with different bank or credit union. To save money on a car loan, I used the work credit union, and they would take payments directly from that account. The thing is, the closest branch is 5 hours away. I can go to a co-op bank, but that's a 30-minute drive out of my way. I've slowly increased the amount that goes into the account. I started to fund my hobbies and trips with that account. Also, extra payments to the car loan helps. Story 66. If you do the free trial on a subscription service, cancel immediately if they allow you to while still giving the trial. may only save you $5, but that's not $5 you're going to pay every month before you remember to cancel. Story 67. I've seen it on this post, but making your own food will save you tons. Also, cut down on adult beverage. Not only is it expensive over time, even if you go to the liquor store and drink at home, what you are not taking into account is the tipsy Amazon purchases or the fast food run that comes with tipsy munchies. Plus, you're more inclined to say fudge it when it comes to spending money when you're under the influence. If cutting back adult beverage is a problem, then there is a bigger issue at play that you might want to assess. Story 68. One of the biggest money holes is entertainment. Find hobbies that are either free or low cost to start. There is usually an Ask Reddit thread about this at least once a month. Date night? Pack a picnic for you, and go to a local park. Or look to see if your city does something like First Thursdays. That's what OT is in Seattle, where art galleries are open late to show new exhibits and often provide glasses of wine and munchies, and many of the museums are free the entire day. Also, just see what free museums there are in your area. Go to a pound and walk a dog. Story 69. When going through the interview process for new jobs, when they ask how much you earned at your old job, tell them how much you think you are worth rather than what your current old employer paid you. I was at a company for 5 years earning $19,000, no pay rises or increase in bonus for the entire time. I handed my notice in when I found another job who offered me $29,000. That was in 2016. I now earn just over $41,000. Know your worth. Being loyal isn't always worth it. Story 70. Not going grocery shopping when you're hungry. Periodically calling your cell TV internet provider and asking for a new rate discount. Buying the store brand. It's usually the same as the name brand, usually. Story 71. Cars. For most people, their car is the second highest expense after mortgage rent. Never buy a new car. I used to sell cars. As soon as you drive it off the lot, you lose about 20 of its value if you were to turn right around and try to sell it back to the dealer with only 2 miles on it. Drive less. This is a big one. The more miles you drive every year, you will incur the following expenses. Needing a newer car sooner. If you drive 20,000 miles a year versus 10,000 miles a year, you will need to replace your car twice as often. If you can make your car last for 10 years instead of 5, you will buy roughly 5 less cars in your lifetime. That can easily be well over 100,000, and it could be a lot more than that depending on what cars you buy. Also, less mileage will equal less gas, less repairs, fewer new tires, and some car insurance companies have lower rates if you drive less miles. This is why Uber, Lyft, etc. are money-losing enterprises. You will never make enough money doing these gigs to make up for the replacement cost of needing a new car sooner. Don't get a job with a 30-mile, one-way commute unless you are making a lot more money, like at least $20,000 a year to offset the additional car expenses you will have. Not to mention the lost time in your life and the stress. Maintain your car. Getting a 50 oil change a few times a year is a lot less expensive than needing a 5,000 engine. The better you maintain your car, the longer it will last. See above note about making your cars last longer. Story 72. If you can bear it, cut your own hair or have someone you live with do it for you. All you really need is a hand mirror and a pair of clippers off of Amazon. I think of it like this. Will I ever cut my hair as well as an amazingly skilled barber? No. But if I'm going to get an okay haircut, I might as well do it myself. As long as you don't cut off all your hair, you can always do it again tomorrow if it needs fixing. Admittedly, I live in an area where haircuts are expensive and mediocre. Story 73. Lots of companies have you rent equipment. Modems, routers, water heaters, digital boxes, etc. Many you can buy, which would let you save. Old ISP charged me $10 million for a 60 router. I had that router for 4 years now. Story 74. A trick that always works for me is to think about how many hours wages I am spending on something. As someone who previously had a huge spending problem, this has helped me realize that I've worked hard for my money, and I'd rather be working my jerk off for a stress-free life financially than living payday to payday, buying meaningless shoot. Story 75. A guy I work with saves every $5 bill he comes across throughout the year and puts it towards Christmas presents for his kids and wife. He does a lot of side work and runs a business on the side, and mainly only takes cash. So by the end, it's the year he has a good chunk of change. He was saying he often ends up with enough to get gifts for everyone and still have money left over for himself. Could be a decent way to save money. Story 76. Use an HSA and max it out. It's literally a tax-free savings account for medical, and you can pull funds out without penalty after 65. Even better, I have an HSA plan through my work, and my wife and kid are on separate non-HSA insurance plan. So they have a lower deductible, they have more visits currently, and we can pay up to the deductible from my HSA. We don't typically have to pay out of pocket for most medical expenses, and HRA can also be nifty as you get reimbursed cash for medical expenses. My wife and I got really creative a while ago with a surgery and paid it off through an interest-free loan from the hospital and used the reimbursement money for higher interest student loans, effectively transferring the debt to a much lower interest, zero loan. Story 77. I have an unpopular rule with my wife. I refuse to finance toys, anything with a motor outside our cars, etc. Story 78. I put the items in the cart when shopping online. Then I go back 24 HRs and rarely buy what I had waiting in cart. Story 79. Investing. I always struggle to save money, I think largely due to mental health. Anyways, once I got really into investing, putting money into my stock portfolio gave the same joy I got from spending it, without the regret or guilt because I was actually making money for myself. One of my bigger wins was turning 2K into 6K in a day. I'm by no means rich, but I'm good at investing. Story 80. Save your coins. Helped my friend go through his drawer today, and he had over $40 of coins he didn't know he had. Story 81. My mom uses the trick of overpaying the taxes. I don't know how it works in other countries. But in Finland, the tax changes depending on how much you earn per month here. So my mom put her tax higher than it needs to be. And during the tax returns time, my mom often gets about 1,000 euros back. It's just the amount of money she paid too much. Story 82. Every week when I get paid, I take 100 out for spending money. I still use my debit card for larger purchases like gas or groceries. Whatever I have left in my wallet at the end of the week goes into an envelope, which then goes into my safe. Story 83. Ask your bank if they offer any sort of roundup feature. Anytime you use your card, it rounds to nearest dollar and deposits that into a savings account. My bank doesn't offer it, so I use Acorns. They also allow me to set a multiplier, so anytime I use my card, it rounds to the nearest dollar and multiplies by 10. I then take that after a few months and blow it all on Ethereum. Cheers. Story 84. Pay for everything in cash. There is some kind of psychological connection to actually counting out the money as you pay that just isn't there when you just put it on your debit card. Also, since most people now get paid though direct deposit, you actually have to go withdraw the cash. So if you only pay with cash, if you haven't made that withdrawal, you can't buy said item. Story 85. Not spend money. It is such an easy solution to money problems. If you're deciding whether or not to buy that new Apple Watch or even that new pair of sunglasses, just say no. Unless you need them, there is no reason you should be spending money on them. Of course, I have nothing against Apple Watches. I have one, and it is very useful. Story 86. Challenge yourself to reuse stuff. If you begin challenging yourself to pause before you throw out trash, you might notice that you can actually reuse some of your waste. Seriously, think about the plastic sandwich bag that you put a sandwich in, and now the sandwich is gone and you're about to throw away the bag. Sure, there are some crumbs, but otherwise, maybe you can clean it out and use it the next day after it dries. Story 87. Go to flea markets, yard sales, and antique stores to find things you wanted for cheaper. It saves a lot of money also buying electric cars because it's cheaper to house your electricity at home than paying for gas. And also often if you have to charge at a gas station, it's often free. Story 88. Thrift. Don't invest in fast fashion too much. People don't even care about your clothes as long as you can pull them off and look good. Story 89. I save all of my $1 bills and all of my change. After a year, I bring it to my bank to deposit it. It adds up after a year. I am not always successful at keeping the $1 bills, and I have to use the quarters for the laundry machines, but it still adds up. Story 90. 1. Don't be a fudge idiot. 2. Don't eat out. 3. Don't buy shoot you don't need before you buy shoot you do need. 4. Coupons are literally everywhere. Take advantage. 5. Don't be a sucker. People with a good sales pitch are much more powerful than you think. You'll never buy things at the counter. They're cheaper elsewhere, and you probably don't need it anyway. 7. Don't smoke for fudge's sake. 8. Discounted items are not always worth buying. 9. Your get-rich-quick scheme most likely won't work, and the lottery is a scam. 10. Ramen noodles. Story 91. What is up with all the 6 coffee purchases? My dad took a thermos of coffee to work every day for 30 years. Never paid more than a few pennies a cup. People spend hundreds on coffee every month and then wonder, why can't I seem to get ahead? Not to mention paying $100 a month for multiple streaming services. Story 92. Not spending money. People buy stuff they absolutely don't need all the time. Kind of makes me feel sad since unlike me, They don't have to pay a monthly subscription to not die. The money I spend just to live is the same money these people spend to enjoy life more, only to complain about being broke. I know someone who smokes and is like this. Story 93. Stop using your credit card for everything and reconsider all of the subscriptions that take money automatically every month. Most people don't realize how much it ends up costing them. My advice, use cash as much as possible since you can touch the money. You can see more clearly how fast you're spending it. Answer, I disagree with the stop using your credit card part of this. Paying for your groceries with a credit card instead of cash doesn't save you money all of a sudden, since your groceries cost the same either way. In fact, using your credit card can save you money if you have a rewards program of some kind. Mine gives me 0.5 cash back on all purchases, with that amount doubled for purchases at grocery stores. This can add up. I agree that a credit card can make it easier to accidentally overspend. But if you're responsible with your money and budget and can avoid impulse purchases, a credit card is fine. Story 94. Steal everything you need. If you get away with it, you get free stuff. If you get caught, you go to jail and get free room and board. Story 95. Contrary to popular belief, use a credit card for everything. Only spend what you have or set a budget. For me, I limit myself to 10 a day for food, and I am just generally cheap on other things, but the cash back adds up, and every once in a while, I save 50 on my bill for using a different card. Also, opening new cards will usually have incentives for free money. Story 96. Take your money out of the bank. When you get paid, cash a certain percent or amount of it, put it in a safe or an envelope somewhere hidden at home, especially now when the majority of people only use their debit or credit cards. If you don't see your money in the account, you won't have the urge to spend it. You might even forget you have money saved. Story 97. Run a heavy-duty extension cord from your dryer to your neighbor's house. Boom, free electricity for your dryer. Story 98. Earning interest by putting your savings into cryptocurrency stablecoins, which do not deflate or inflate and pay far better rates than any traditional bank. Thus, they want to regulate it and keep us using their depreciating Ponzi dollar. Story 99. Cut up your Social Security card. Then throw a dummy look-alike that dissolves in water off the Golden Gate Bridge. Bam, no more taxes. Story 100. Only shop for Nestle products. They have the cheapest and most higher quality food products in the world. Good food, good life. Story 101. You don't afford something unless you can buy it twice over on your own. Read it on Quora, and I absolutely love it. Story 102. Batch cooking, especially if you live alone. Cook enough portions for, say, 4 servings, eat 1, and freeze the rest. Story 103. Put things in your shopping cart and leave it there. Chances are you will get a 10/20 off coupon via email to buy it. Good way to get discounts. Also, check everything you find in a store online just in case. Story 104. If you're buying pizza for a group, I tell you multiple boxes, get it in the largest possible size they have. Believe it or not, a single 18-incher is more pizza than 2 12-inchers together. Geometry of a circle at work. Go half and half for the less popular toppings like green peppers, pineapple, chicken barbecue, etc., if not skipping them altogether. That's typically where the leftovers are at the end that nobody wants to finish or take home. You should only get these if requested. Otherwise, just cheese is probably better if you're worried about somebody not having anything they like. Square cuts so people who just want to try a certain topping can take a smaller piece. They'd probably rather not have a big slice of it anyway. Story 105. Try a spending freeze for a week or even a couple days. It's neat how creative you can get when you go to the pantry instead of Target. Story 106. Buy quality and don't get lied by the brands. Buy the things you need with the quality you need, and don't think that because it has a brand on it, it had the quality. Some brands are the same quality as the cheap stuff. You pay extra for their logo on it. Story 107. I don't buy stuff on impulse, but when find a thing I want to buy on impulse, I plan it out. I check the price, quickly work out the hours I have to work after tax to be able to pay it. Then I put those hours into useful stuff, whether it be work or home personal projects that will help me in the future. That way I will always invest in myself and my future and feel like I deserve to have the thing, but also the things to stop caring about. I go pretty hard into this, and to get an idea about it, I haven't had candy or soft drinks in years because it's not worth the math. Yeah, same with any small things, but not actual food and necessities. And then I bought myself a new computer, and for that I've learned programming, HTML and CSS. Java started, but good God is it slow progress. It has given me some income too, since I've made a few basic websites for friends' businesses. I bought a guitar and lost 15 kilonin. I stopped caring about those small things along the way because these projects or self-investments started to become super rewarding. And if you do this with your economy being considered, you'll save money and use them smarter and maybe develop some skills that can pull in some extra bucks, or at least make you happy about granting yourself the opportunity to do something for yourself and for your future. NOFC, be smart about it, because some projects cost money too, so work that into the time total of the project TLDR. Plan your expenses and invest the time in yourself until you've worked up your set hours before buying said thing. Side note, this is roughly how I work out the math imaginary numbers for simplicity. I make 1,000 currency after tax for 8 hours of work, 1 day. I want to buy a gold-encrusted cucumber that goes for 3,000 currency, so 3 full days. Here is the thing though, I'm not going to invest those 24 spread out those hours outside my regular work hours, because it's an expense outside my ordinary budget. So I want to start running jogging to get in better shape. So every other day I start taking 60-minute runs. 48 days later, I'm in decent shape and have gotten into the habit. I keep doing it because it's become a habit, and I get that cucumber, which is cool. On to the next project. Also, one big project at a time, and maybe another small 1 or 2 edit. Okay, so after writing this out and reading through it, this is super contrived XD. I guess I've just gotten so into it that it's second nature to me now. A rule I set for myself. Story 108. Don't get scared of being considered cheap. So many people spend money just because their own ego, people that don't use their food stamps if someone is looking, or that never accept Frente stuff. If it helps you save and is not harm to others, just do it. People speak about others because the lives of others are way more interesting than theirs, and they are not going to shut up just because you cave and ruin your life over them. Story 109. Fix an amount of money for savings and put that aside at the beginning of the month and behave as if it doesn't exist before you go on with your spendings. Story 110. For electronic products, phones, computers, buy the one that is really hard to overheat on the bottom of the machine, has a really good cooling system. I have a laptop that has lasted 7 years, constant use, versus the 500, 300 ones that I had to replace every 2-3 years. Story 111. Not owning a car. Living in a bicycle-friendly city with good public transportation is the best thing you can do for your wallet and general improvement to quality of life. Car-dependent cities are stupid. Story 112. Set up a recurring auto buy of a stock market ETF, even if it's just for a small dollar amount. It will add up. Story 113. Number 1 easiest way to save money, and it's not even close, is financial restraint. Requires a bit of discipline, but it helps you look at things objectively. This is even better than the bite and hold strategy used to prevent impulse purchases, because an impulsive purchase that's in your cart or something can still result in making a purchase you didn't need. The number 2 easiest way to save money is to track your spending. By tracking where your money goes, you can see points in your life where you're spending a lot more than you should. Then apply your restraint in those areas. Story 114. Not clever, but get out of debt. I was in the cycle of paying off credit cards overdrafts for years, month to month, and never really saved anything. 2 years ago, I finally broke the cycle, and the savings I've racked up since have been crazy eye-opening. Little bit every month on payday really does add up over time. I never realized, because I was paying off the debt I was in instead. Really makes you feel good too. Story 115. Clean or fix what you have before going to buy something new. Works especially well with cars. You will have a better appreciation for what you already have. Story 116. I invested 30 euros into a top quality Stanley insulated 500 milliml travel cup. It keeps my tea or coffee hot for about 6 to 8 hours. Saved me a fortune over the last 8 years in shop coffee or tea. Story 117. I am just being straightforward and would say just think twice before you buy the stuff. Like if it's necessary, if you're planning to use it often, or only once before putting it away. Is it an emergency purchase? Is it possible to buy it next month instead? Do you really need new clothes, phone, sunglasses, shoes, or whatever right now? Maybe the old stuff still works fine. Maybe you're subscribed to something where you pay monthly, and you realize you are not using that service that often. Story 118. Round up when spending money. Round down on money coming in. I usually do it to the nearest 5 for smaller things, nearest 10 for stuff like weekly shop, and nearest 50 for wages and large payments. Story 119. I buy basic clothing cheaply and spend up occasionally on an accessory. This means most of my shoes, undershirts, boxers, socks, etc. come from Costco. Adidas shoes can be had for like $26. I will sometimes buy something nice, like a pair of sunglasses or whatever, but when all is said and done, my bottom line on clothing is much less than the glory days when I would just default and hit the regular mall every time I needed something. Edit. Guess this isn't really clever, now that I think of it. Story 120. I like to contextualize costs into hours worked. Basically, divide your take-home pay by the hours worked to get your realized wage per hour, and then use that figure to divide product prices into your labor hours. 12 Larry x 40 x 00.85 408, assuming 15 tax 408 40 10.20 HR, or about 10 per hour. So for every 10 in cost, you need to work 1 hour. Now you can ask yourself if you'd actually do 10 hours of work for the thing that costs 100, or more realistically, 30 minutes of work for the 5 item. For me, this makes it easier to separate needs and wants, and also I tend to seek better value because this is my time and I can never get it back. Story 121. Buying good quality investments, blue chip stocks and ETFs, flipped a mental switch for me. Future gains and tax penalties incentivize you not to sell and subsequently spend. I started comparing purchases to how much I'd earned or how much I'd saved, or how far I was from the next 1,000 or 10,000 increment. Story 122. I keep my money in my backpack. It's annoying to take on and off, so I find myself spending way less on silly little things when I'm out to avoid the hassle of removing it and putting it back on all the time. Sounds stupid, but having slightly less convenient access to my money really has saved me a lot of money on mindless spending. Story 123. I fully agree with bringing lunch to save money. It's a game changer. There are other things too. Cut down on adult beverage and cigarettes, dine out less, and the thing that worked best for me, put 10 of your income into a retirement fund before you see your wages. As far as I was concerned, that wasn't part of my salary because I never saw it. It went into a fund I couldn't access until I reached a certain age. Story 124. Max your 401k Roth's contributions and have mutual fund allocations automatically withdrawn from your checking account on the day of your paycheck. You'll learn to live with less, and meanwhile, you'll be racking up savings on the side. Story 125. Take out a loan, leverage those dollars into the stock and options market, and live off the gains. Pay back the loan with the proceeds. Save all other forms of income. Story 126. Paying on time and in full for annualized services or subscriptions. It's insane how the added monthly fee of an extra couple of dollars adds up with things like auto insurance, homeowners, renters, software subscriptions, etc. Don't get me started on late fees. From the water bill to auto registration, paying late costs you so much extra. And people who pay one bill late are probably paying most late, so it isn't just $5 a month. And stop overdrafting. Cut your expenses and luxuries to the none until you can pay for the necessities on time, and you'll save so much. Story 127. Multiple bank accounts each is hard, at least in Canada, because major banks tend to charge extra beyond a single checking. My wife and I use 2 checking accounts and about 8 savings accounts. One checking is everyday living stuff, groceries, gas, that sort of thing. The second is all reoccurring bills for the year. We take every recording expense we have, right down to Amazon Prime, divide it by 26, and put that amount into that account every pay automatically. All those bills come out of there. Savings accounts are things like Christmas and birthday spending, personal fund money, clothing and toys for the baby, emergency fund, etc. It levels out our spending a crazy amount and makes everything way more predictable. No looking in the one checking account wondering if both car payments came out or if there is some yearly bill coming out yet. We went from living paycheck to saving hundreds every paycheck on top of scheduled retirement, ESP savings, and live way better. Story 128. Get off TV. You can stream things, granted not everything, for free. With the option to pay a subscription or a larger one-time price, always go with the larger one-time price. For example, Xbox Game Pass. For me, there are only a few games I want to play, so I bought them, and now they're mine. With Game Pass ID, keep paying money for nothing, as I don't intend to get more. Granted, this makes sense for me, but for others, Game Pass may actually be better. It varies. Just an example. Story 129. It's a small amount of money, but every time you buy something with cash, I know, break a bill, and then throw the loose change in a jar. Back in the olden days when we used cash more, we accrued 40 in 1 month. Story 130. Not eating out every time you go places. Fast food might be cheap, but that shoot compounds over time. Story 131. Whenever you're going to buy something, break it down into hours worked, post-tax. So if you make 30 or char, you probably make 25 or take home. So before you spend 100, ask yourself, is this worth going to work for 4 hours? Story 132. Paying extra for something that will last long term. A more expensive pair of jeans that last 10 years is worth paying 200. Same with cars that are likely to last 20 years. Or a house that's a little more to purchase, but in a neighborhood likely to rise in price consistently over time. Story 133. I haven't tipsy anything but water and/or wine in 20 years. All I do is watch my colleagues blow tens of thousands a year on coffee, soda, etc. My habit X 20 years. How much money do you think I saved? Story 134. Get a vacuum sealer. I buy meat on sale all the time and then seal it and freeze it. I currently have probably 200 lbs of meat in my freezer. It rules. Story 135. Whenever you go on a trip, bring your own water from tap as well as food if you have any. Don't spend money on overpriced food and drinks if you're going to the airport, dock, or any major overpriced travel hub in general. Story 136. Curate your automated payments frequently. You're probably hurling money into at least one subscription you haven't used in months. Story 137. Don't buy the cheapest, but buy decent quality for cheapest. And don't buy new things just you want them, but buy them because you need or love them. Invest in a HQ minimalist wardrobe. If a new clothing item is in the best quality but on sale for 40 and are trying to decide, then don't. That new stuff feeling always wears off. I get it. And also buy quality, gorgeous, minimalist wardrobe. 100 per piece you love that you can wear for a long time, will feel high quality and last, and save money from wearing everything cheap a few times. Story 138. Keep your operating expenses low so you're not blindsided by costs. Car breaks down or you lose your job, you can skip lattes and haircuts and vacations until you're back on your feet. But you can't skip fancy apartment rent or French bulldog vet bills. Story 139. Have your paycheck direct deposit put into your savings account. Only remove from your savings the money you need. Like if you are paying your monthly bills, only transfer enough to checking to pay your bills. This makes your money more difficult to get to and will make you consider each transaction before you make it. Then any money left over will just stay in your savings. Story 140. Keep fast food coupons in your car where you are far more likely to remember them and use them. Sort through them every few weeks, tossing them expired ones and adding new ones. Story 141. Don't buy anything. Don't pay your rent, mortgage, or anything. You'll be surprised how much money you save. Story 142. Saving it in a bank account versus your creditor's bank account is a great way to accumulate money. People forget this sometimes. Story 143. When you are considering multiple job offers, get their benefits sent to you so you can review the value. Benefits can be up to 60 of your total compensation, so everything else being equal, it might make sense to take a slightly lower paying job if the benefits more than make up for it. Story 144. Auto deposits in investments or saving accounts. Every 2 weeks on payday, automatically take a little out. Story 145. I lie to myself about saving money towards something I actually don't need, but think I do and never end up buying it. Story 146. I like to make sure I make a profit every day. I work almost every day, but if I buy something on an off day, then I offer to come in for a bit to make sure I didn't lose any money on the day. Story 147. Put it away somewhere that you'll forget about it, but not completely lose it. There's more of an impulse to spend money when it's actually in your wallet or out in the open. Alternatively, if you're going somewhere that you know you don't need to buy. Thank you for watching the video all the way to the end. If you'd like to see more content like this, you might be interested to know that I've created another channel with a similar theme, especially for those of you who enjoy what I do. I'll leave a link in the description, and I hope to see you there. Take care.